Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and this is my review for Magi, the Kingdom of Magic, Episode 6. Now, this one starts off with a brief little flashback that we see a couple times during the episode, actually. It's this flashback of Hakuryu's brothers fighting. They're about to die, and one of them talks to Hakuryu and tells him who's responsible for it. And after this flashback ends, he starts fighting and protecting Medora. So I believe her, along with the rest of the kids, well, not the rest of them, but most of them, they end up escaping. And Hakuryu, he's fighting, and it's a fight. Alibaba had a couple nice moves in there, but Hakuryu's moves were better. Um, he had a bunch of wood creatures and just a bunch of he was creating a bunch of different monsters and things, but Alibaba ends up trying to cut Hakuryu's metal vessel with Amon's sword, or Amon, whichever you prefer, and he can't do it because of Hakuryu's Magi manipulation ability. But after a while, he does end up being able to cut through it. We also learn why it is that Hakuryu's trying so hard. He believes that the new king, his uncle, or his father's brother, he believes that the new king turned on his mother. So he sees Medora as his mother. So he thinks that since Aladdin and the others are trying to capture Medora, he sees them as the king that he wants to defeat. Like I said before, though, Alibaba ends up being able to cut through Hakuryu's metal vessel because his Magi manipulation ability reached its limits, and Hakuryu gets defeated. Medora and the rest of the pirates, well, not the rest, like I said, but most of them, including Oba, they get outside, but they end up getting captured by the Akthian Navy. Oba gets loose, and they're about to kill him with a bunch of arrows, but Alibaba comes out of nowhere and saves him with fire. He just hits all the arrows with fire and burns them up. So, yeah, that's it for that part of the episode. They all end up going back to Aktia, and we learn that Hakuryu's mother was the one who tried to kill him, not the king. At this point in time, Hakuryu, he's still asleep. He's unconscious. He's just dreaming this. He's remembering his mom telling him this. But we end up going back to Alibaba and Morjan Aladdin, and he's telling Alibaba tells him that the kids are probably going to be put in prison because of, I mean, they were pirates and they killed people and they kidnapped more kids and they stole stuff because they were pirates. But he said they're probably going to be put in prison. And there's this one really interesting scene where all the kids are tied up together, and pretty much all the kids they're sad, they're disappointed, they don't like what's going on. There's this one little really small girl who's crying, and then there's this other little boy, and he's so young that he doesn't fully understand what's going on. So while he's tied up, he just starts playing with this girl's hair, like laughing and like having a good time. And it's just really interesting because it shows you just how innocent some of these kids really are. But after this scene, the Akthian Navy, they're about to take Medora away. They're going to ship her off somewhere. But the citizens stop them because they want her to die. They want to kill her. So they all go up to Medora and they start beating her up and everything. But Hakuryu, apparently he's woken up. He comes out of nowhere and stops them. And we're thinking, he's still under her control. He's still trying to protect Medora. And that ends up being true, that he is still under her control. But the whole protection thing isn't. Because he turns around and he cuts her head off. He cuts her head off. And he explains himself. He says that he was still under Medora's control, but the reason he was able to kill her anyway is because his real mother he wants to kill, because she's this witch from not an actual witch, but he's just insulting her. She's this witch from Alphaman who defected to his uncle's side in order to gain control over the Ko Empire. And we learn that her name is Gyokuen. So Hakuryu cutting off Medora's head like that, along with what happens right after this, this is why, while I don't really care that much about the arc, the stuff at the end I really do actually care about, because it's stuff like this that made Hakuryu one of my favorite characters in the series. Not quite past Kogyoku, but he's pretty high up there. But Oba ends up breaking free from the Navy guys and trying to kill Hakuryu, and he stops them. Hakuryu stops and pretty much dominates Oba, and he just tells him what's what. When he says, you know, you guys killed people, you killed women, you killed mothers, so you don't deserve to be angry at me for killing Medora. And he also says that the only reason that they're mad is because they're beginning to realize that Medora never loved them. They were never loved, they were never cared about. They were just being used. And, you know, the truth hurts. I mean, the truth hurts. And the kids are not happy to hear this, but the Navy ends up taking them away. They don't get their revenge on Hakuryu. But Aladdin sees that their root gets turned black. And as a Magi, he knows that's not good. You know, they're falling into depravity. So he goes to do something about it, but he doesn't even get a chance to, because Alibaba, I guess just his instincts, told him that he needed to do something. So he steps up, and he does a very king-like thing. Just his instincts. You know, Magis are the ones that choose kings, and for him to just kind of instinctually know that something was wrong, that he couldn't let them go on that ship. It's just very king-like, and it lets you know that Aladdin didn't make a mistake when he chose Alibaba to be his king. Though, I guess he technically didn't choose Alibaba to be king, because he didn't really know that going into the dungeon would make Alibaba a candidate to be king, but you get what I mean. He ends up taking the kid, Alibaba that is, he ends up taking the kids from the Achaean Navy and sending them to Sindria. Not that particular moment, but that's what he ends up deciding to do, send them to Sindria. And after this, we see the scene with Morgiana and Hakuryu. And Hakuryu, he's leaving. He's just going to leave without saying goodbye to anyone, because he just doesn't, he just feels that now the time is right, and that he just has to leave now. And Morgiana tries to stop him and say, you know, he can't leave with the way things are now. He has to, him and Alibaba and Aladdin, they have to try and make up so that they can leave while they're still friends and put this whole thing behind them. But things don't exactly go the way Morgiana predicted, obviously. Hakuryu ends up actually confessing his feelings for Morgiana. And, you know, this was a really nice moment. It really was. Because you can tell that Morgiana, this is a really unique feeling for her, because she's been a slave this entire time. And she's the only men she's really legitimately come into contact with are people who've tried to hurt her. Jamil, and, you know, a while back when she was captured by that one freaky guy who was like a slave. What was his official title? Well, I don't remember what, but like back when Morgiana got captured again and she had to fight those white tigers and stuff. Back then, like that guy, her experiences with men are not very good. But the only first men who she met that like actually gave a crap about her, other than like other slaves, were Aladdin and Alibaba. Alibaba being the person who actually freed her from her slavery. And now, for the first time, she's meeting a guy who's telling her that he loves her, that he wants to be with her, that he wants to marry her, and that he wants her to become the empress of the empire that he builds. And then he kisses her. So for Morgiana, this is just like a wave of emotion, and she just doesn't even know what to do because she's never felt this way before. But before we find out how that gets resolved, we go back to Alibaba, and the Oba and the kids they're just sitting around Medora's corpse, and Alibaba does what a certain other blonde-haired protagonist would do. He attempts and succeeds in getting Oba and the other kids to give up on hatred and revenge, and he gives them another reason to live. And by the time Alibaba finishes, their root turns white again. So again, that's, this actually ended up coming up in the manga last week. So it's actually pretty convenient that this episode comes out at this particular point in time. But this point gets referenced later in the manga, and it's just Alibaba. After the kids end up being sent away to Century of the ship leaves, he's thinking that he's not that much of a success. Like, he's doubting himself. He's looking down on himself. He doesn't really see himself as he doesn't think he legitimately helped, but in reality, he did. He's much more king-like than he gives himself credit for, because he was able to take their root and bring them back from depravity. So, Alibaba, he does have confidence problems. He would actually make a really good king. But after the kids leave on the ship, Morgiana ends up coming back, and she doesn't have Hakuryu with her. So the Alibaba and Aladdin, they're like, wait, what's going on? Where's Hakuryu? And she tells him that he left. And Alibaba, he's thinking, wait, what? He's leaving now without saying goodbye? No, I'm not going to stand for this. So he goes to try and stop Hakuryu and talk to him, and Morgiana just does not want that to happen. Because with the whole wave of emotions that she's feeling right now, which at this point is obvious, she said no to Hakuryu, because if she had said yes, she would be gone. But, although I guess it's possible that she could have just come back to say bye. But at this point, you're thinking she said no because she didn't come back with Hakuryu. And because of the way she's feeling right now, she knows that if Alibaba met Hakuryu right now, it would probably not end well. Like, it's not like their departure would be even less happy. And the way she's feeling right now, she doesn't want Hakuryu to have to go through that. So she just holds Alibaba back and just begs him not to go after Hakuryu. So Aladdin goes instead. She thinks it's fine for Aladdin to go, and Aladdin goes to talk to Hakuryu, and he starts talking about the cycle of hatred, pretty much. So another reference there. Well, not intentional, but he talked about the cycle of hatred pretty much, and she's just trying to get Hakuryu to stay, and Hakuryu says, I've enjoyed my actually it's kind of similar to what Sasuke did, actually. Saying like, I enjoyed my time here with you guys. I made some nice bonds, but right now there's something I have to do, and I'm going to go do it. And he does end up asking, the one thing he doesn't do that's different from Sasuke, Sasuke wanted to do everything on his own. He didn't want to get anyone else involved. It was his revenge, no one else's. But with Hakuryu, since he's going up against not just one person, he's going up against the entire Ko-Empire. He wants as many allies as possible, so he already has Sinbad's help. I mean, not really. It was Sinbad gave him a reluctant yes. I wouldn't be so confident in the fact that he has Sinbad's help, especially since we've seen so far this season that Sinbad is actually a pretty shady character. But he ends up asking Aladdin for help as well, saying, I'm going to be starting this war that splits the Ko-Empire And two, Sinbad already told me that he would help me. I would love it if he would help me too as a friend. And Aladdin talks about how he doesn't like war and stuff, and he would love to help Hakuryu out, but he just does not like war and all this kind of thing. So Hakuryu ends up leaving. Aladdin can't stop him, and this is when we get the finale of that scene from before with Hakuryu confessing to Morgiana, and she says no, pretty much. Like she talks about how no man has ever felt that way about her and treated her that way and stuff, but the answer was she just couldn't do it. But that's pretty much it for the episode. Hakuryu did a really nice thing there at the end. He realized what Morgiana was getting at, and he didn't force her to actually say it, because that would just hurt her more. It really would. But yeah, and he just left without forcing her to say anything and actually come out and say no. But yeah, that's really the end of the episode. I'll I guess I'll give this episode. I was going to give it an 8.5, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'll give it a 9. I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10 because not only did it have Hakuryu cutting off Medora's head, not only did it have a decent to good fight between Hakuryu and Alibaba, it also had that really nice scene with Hakuryu and Morgiana, plus Hakuryu's argument with Olba. Not really an argument; it was one-sided. He was just dominating. And you also had, and while at face value, I don't really care that much about it, but all the stuff Alibaba did in this episode, it was very king-like of him. So I'll still rate it highly anyway. So yeah, it was a great episode of Magi. So I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10. But that's really it for now. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.